Oh, hey. I didn't see you there. Because I'm not doing it live. You're not there when I'm doing this. So I couldn't possibly see you there because there is no you there to see. Today I'm going to be talking about some stuff, obviously, as you all know. And I did not do a show last week because I didn't want to. I didn't feel like it. And yeah, so in case anyone was wondering, that's why. I just didn't feel like it. And but this week I'm doing a program here. Showgram, even, you could say. Such a thing, I think, is sayable. We're going to be talking about things in the world that maybe some other people don't want you to know about. May also, if I still feel like it, by the end of this, I may also do a popcorn segment. People have been asking me to, I think it's called like Dunk on Dummies. I think that's what people have asked me to do. They want me to, make the show more fun because I play clips to react to of stupid people being stupid. So I'm going to try that. I haven't done that in a while. We'll give that a go. Give that a show on the gram. But before we get in there, I want to bore everyone to death with a study that it's not very good. It's not a good study. I mean, it's a good study in the sense that it's a study, and it seems good to me in how it was designed. But it's not the findings not so good. So I want to read this. I want to read some highlights here and look at some charts, and then obviously I suggest people to look into this stuff themselves. I could sit here for 7 hours and read the entire study to you, but I'd rather give you the bullet points, and if you want to look for more information, you can do that. Long COVID is associated with severe cognitive slowing, a multi-center cross-sectional study. So I've been saying this for about a year or two now on my show, is that ever since I read the first report on how long COVID and COVID in general, not just long COVID, affects the brain, and then also combined with the fact that people pretend that viruses don't exist, the germ theory of disease is dead and gone, is that everyone around you in your life, including yourself, if you believe that viruses don't exist, are getting dumber. Now, I don't want to say that in the sense that, like, they're unlearning things necessarily, like things that they have learned, they stop knowing, For example, the germ theory of disease. People theoretically learn that, and then they unlearn that. That is an example, but that's not just the only example. The major aspect of this is cognitive processing speed. For example, you're driving your cars, right? Because people do that. They're not milking cows here. They're driving cars. I got to rotate. And then you see some guy cut in front of you, and you have to make a split-second decision, in order to not kill yourself and your kids in the back seat. Well, when it comes to COVID, it reduces the speed of that kind of decision-making. And that's something that I am very afraid of when it comes to society, I have decided not to get COVID. That is a decision I have been able to make. That is a decision I have so far maintained, at least to my knowledge. I may have been infected at some point, but I don't leave the house ever. I haven't left the house in months outside of, like, walking around the street with a gas mask on. But if you've made the decision, now I know a lot of people are saying, I didn't know any better. You did. You just pretended not to. If you made the decision to dose yourself with COVID-19, let alone multiple times, your split-second judgment calls have been reduced. And you may not, that's the thing about it is when it comes to cognitive decline, it creeps up on you, right? Now, if anyone has ever had an old person in their family who's had dementia or whatever, there's multiple stages. You know, it starts off with like, you know, like maybe they're talking about, you know, can you believe that Obama did this? And it's like, that happened like 10 years ago, Grandma. What are you talking about? Right? Something like that, you know, where they just like have a momentary lapse of like place and time or something like that. That's one aspect of it, right? But it's slow. It's creeping. You can maybe have one episode of that and then not have any other episodes for years after that, right? So that's what's happening across the world, right? And I need people to fundamentally understand everyone around you, including you, if you are getting COVID, is getting fucking dumber. Now, the reason why I would say that to people that have chosen to get COVID over and over for whatever reason, is because if you know that this is an effect, you can take steps to mitigate the damage. You can take, you know, like, it's like if you're an athlete, you're a football player, right, or whatever, and you do stretches before your games. Why? So that, you know, you're more limber or whatever, right? So if you know, oh shit, I got COVID 4 times, I'm going to get dumber, you can do the mental versions of stretches to prevent a lot of the effects here. Now, am I saying that doing Sudoku puzzles is going to combat long COVID completely or reverse it? No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is you can reduce the rate of cognitive decline among you. It doesn't make me happy to say that if you've gotten COVID, you're probably just on a one-track step to going demented in your 50s. I don't want to say that, but a lot of the evidence seems to be in that direction. So I want to read a little bit of this. And I want to get to the charts here, because the charts are interesting. COVID-19 survivors may experience a wide range of chronic cognitive symptoms for months or years as part of post-COVID-19 conditions, PCC, also known as long COVID. That's just the way that they like to say it. To date, there are no definitive objective cognitive markers for PCC. We've hypothesized that a key common deficit in people with PCC might be generalized cognitive slowing. Methods to examine cognitive slowing. Patients with PCC completed 2 short web-based cognitive tasks, simple reaction time and number vigilance test. 270 patients diagnosed with PCC at 2 different clinics in the UK and Germany were compared to 2 control groups, individuals who had contracted COVID-19 before but did not experience PCC after recovery. No PCC group, and uninfected individuals, no COVID group. Now, I just want to say, that's not a real group. Like, there are people out there that have taken it really seriously the whole time, but the vast amounts of people that have claimed that they've never gotten COVID, they have gotten COVID. It's just that they were asymptomatic because the virus has evolved to be asymptomatic. Now, again, think of it in the zombie films, right? If you bite someone and, you know, they can hide their zombie bite and it takes like 48 hours to turn into a zombie, you can bite someone, they'll go into the human stronghold, the shopping mall or whatever the fuck, right? They'll hang around, and then 48 hours they're a zombie, and then they can infect everyone else. So evolutionarily, for a virus, it is better off to not enact symptoms on your host. Because once symptoms occur, then the host is going to be like, oh shit, I have to stay home, and then you can't spread the disease, right? So, but asymptomatic does not mean it's not affecting your body, right? You can have asymptomatic lung cancer. You can have cancer and tumors growing in your lungs, and you just don't know for 6 months, a year, 2 years, until you again, you start coughing up blood or whatever the fuck, and then you find out, oh shit, you have stage 4 cancer. You're going to die, right? So you cannot feel your organs, right? This is like, I know some people think that they're like superheroes or whatever, but you do not have nerve endings that can transmit data that your brain can really kind of comprehend in your organs, right? Like, you can't really tell if there's a tumor growing. That's why we have cancer screenings, right? So, I'm skeptical of any study that says that they have a control group of people that have not had COVID. Now, again, there are people out there that have not had COVID. But again, it's really hard to say. Like, again, I have tried my best to avoid getting COVID. It's totally possible I've gotten it at some point and I've been asymptomatic the whole time. That's totally possible. I'm open to it. But either way, it's not a one and done, rip your Band-Aid off and then it's over with, because each COVID infection accelerates the decline of your body. So let's say I've gotten COVID once or whatever, and it was asymptomatic, right? I'm still going to be better off than the average of people who have gotten it 4 or 5 times now, right? So again, the rate of infection, the viral load that you get is important. So if you believe that the world is made of binaries, like you're a fucking computer or something, right? That's not real. It's not you get COVID or you don't. And then if you get COVID, it's a one and done deal. That's not how it works. Okay, let's keep going here. All patients with PCC completed the study between May 18, 21 and July 4, 23. So the study being that old, again, starting that long ago, I should say, it's more likely that they've had people that have no COVID, that haven't had COVID, I should say. But again, it's hard to say. It's really hard to say without verifying it to some degree. But again, that's not the important part necessarily of this, right? Findings. We identified pronounced cognitive slowing in patients with PCC, which distinguished them from age-matched healthy individuals who previously had symptomatic COVID-19 but did not manifest PCC. Cognitive slowing was evident even on a 30-second task measuring simple reaction time with patients with PCC responding to stimuli. 3 standard deviations slower than healthy controls. 53.5% of patients with PCC's response speed was slower than 2 standard deviations from the control mean. So I'm just going to scroll down here and I want to show you some charts. Right, you can look at this if you want. But I like this. This is my favorite chart. Specifically, chart F. It's the easiest to see and to understand at face value. So we have in the green, normal performance, which is like on par with people historically, right? Moderate impairment in the yellow and severe impairment in the red. So again, if you look at no COVID versus no long COVID versus long COVID, you'll see this is the important part here, in my opinion. Now, again, it's important to show that people with long COVID are at a severe cognitive deficit. And again, our country is not doing anything to combat that, right? So if you do have long COVID, I highly recommend doing mental stretches of some kind. Maybe pick up, crossword puzzle book from the grocery store for 80 cents or whatever they cost, and then just like fill that out every morning or whatever, right? I'm not saying that you should go overboard. You shouldn't stress yourself, because that's the other thing. You don't want to stress yourself. But you should also be aware that cognitive decline is facing you, and there are things that you can do to slow that trend. And hopefully, right, I know I'm about to say something crazy, but hopefully in the future we have a treatment for COVID or long COVID that actually works. I know. It's probably not going to happen. But again, I'm allowed to hope. But the important part here is no COVID versus no long COVID. Now, as you can see, the red chunk of severe impairment increased. Now, this is one of the things that I need people to understand, is that you don't recover from COVID. That's not a thing. You don't recover from HIV. What you can do is you can take certain precautions. In HIV's case, you can take a medication that prevents the effects of the virus, right? But that doesn't cure the virus, right? If you have HIV, you have HIV, right? At least at this current moment in time. And if you take certain medications, you can prevent that HIV from being symptomatic. You can prevent that HIV from destroying your immune system. But you still have, the virus is still in you somewhere, right? And that's what's going on with COVID. You can feel fine. And now, again, this is all relative, right? You ever get sick I know we're talking about year 5 of a pandemic, so I'm sure everyone's had this experience at some point. But you ever feel sick and then, a week into your illness, you just kind of forget what being better was like? Right? I hurt my leg a couple of months ago or whatever. And I wasn't able to walk correctly for a week or so. And, day 5 or 6, I'm like, what was walking like? And it's like, you remember what walking is like, but it's like, we're talking about like, it's just like a gut feeling. Like, oh yeah, walking. That was a weird thing that I used to be able to do, right? And if you've been injured for any longer period of time, let's say you broke your leg and you're on the couch for 6 months or whatever, 6 weeks, whatever it is. I've never broken a bone. At some point, you're going to kind of forget what peak functionality was. And this is also something with aging. You ever, maybe if you're older, you ever just wake up one day and go like, wow, I'm going to go for a run, because I do that every day. And then all of a sudden, you just get really tired. And it's like, whoa, or like your knees crack or something. And you're like, ooh, that's new. You're like 39 or whatever. You're like 56 or some shit, right? And you're like, okay, I'm getting old. I'm not as young as I used to be. I'm not as agile as I used to be, right? But you kind of forget over time, like what it exactly was. Like you have certain fragments of memory, right? So this is what happens with COVID, is you can get sick for weeks and then recover, but you recover to a lower baseline, right? So you're at one level before COVID, you sink all the way down during the acute phase, right? And then you barely scrape out of it. Now, this is where you were before COVID, this hand. And then this is where you are later. But later, you're still better than when you're in the hole with COVID, right? So you recover in the sense that you feel better than you did a week ago. But do you ever really recover to the baseline? And this study is basically saying, no, you don't. Right? Now, again, this doesn't affect everybody. Obviously, look, 70% of people seemingly are just fine. Seemingly, right, for now. But again, how many COVID infections are they going to get where maybe their third COVID infection, or their fourth, or their fifth, or their 10th, right? And so that's the real issue here. If it was just like there was a pandemic and a certain number of people got COVID and then we solved the pandemic and then we spent years afterward dealing with the issue like this, that would be one thing. But the problem is the pandemic is still going and people are actively getting infected. And every time you get infected, you're rolling these dice in an accelerated and accumulating and stacking fashion, right? But again, these are people that do not feel like they have long COVID. They are, as the study says, recovered. And yet 20% of them are still cognitively slow. Now, again, these are people driving cars. These are people cooking food for you to eat. These are people flying planes. These are people manufacturing products that you put on your body, right? Maybe some of them have a chemical process where they need to strip away all the poisonous toxic chemicals, right? Mistakes are going to be a lot more prevalent in society at this point. And then we can also apply this, not just like to politics, but reaction speed and cognitive decline can affect your ability to think about the world around you, especially if you don't know that you're going through cognitive decline, right? So when I say it makes people dumber, do I mean that it's going to turn left-wingers into right-wingers or something? No, I don't necessarily think that. But what it's going to do is it's going to entrench people in certain ideas. They're going to be less likely to think about things outside of the box, right? They're going to be less willing to engage with other ideas because it may be tiresome. And they're all not going to know about this happening. It's going to be completely subconscious. So you can read the rest of this if you'd like. You can just search on the internet. Long COVID is associated with severe cognitive slowing. And you can probably find this. But again, there are a lot of people that think the pandemic is over. It's gone. Why? Probably because they got COVID and they're cognitively slow. Now, again, I'm not saying this to say that if you've got COVID, you're a zombie, you're done for, like you might as well jump off a cliff. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, think of it in the raw capitalist competitive sense. Your peers, your opponents in the game of capital are getting dumber and dumber and dumber and dumber. That's the average, right? The effort that you can take to prevent yourself from getting dumber, i.e. not getting COVID in the first place, or reducing the repeat infections, or reducing the viral load of repeat infections, right? In the 5 to 10 year span, you're going to be way better off than your peers, right? So that, if like, honestly, this selfishness, because like appealing to logic, appealing to people's professed solidarity doesn't work. As we know, the left wing in the United States and the world abroad abandoned disabled people, abandoned COVID. But what they didn't realize, or they realized but they didn't care about, was that abandoning disabled people doesn't work as well when everyone is going to get disabled. Right? When disabled people are 5% of a population, it's easy to say, fuck them, who cares? When disabled people are 10% of the population, okay, maybe you can say, fuck them, who cares? When disabled people are 25% of the population, right? So the left, abroad and at home here, has made a grave miscalculation. They decided eugenics, Adolf Hitler was right? That's what the left in this world decided. Labor unions decided Adolf Hitler was correct. Disabled people deserve to die. That's what Bernie Sanders and his organizations did. That's what Justice Democrats and their organizations did in the United States. That's what a lot of left-wing governments, ostensibly left-wing governments abroad, have been doing, right? They have decided Adolf Hitler, very intelligent guy, eugenics, extremely palpable strategy that we should be using. Disabled people deserve to die. We don't give a shit about them. That's left-wing mainstream thought. Now, again, you might get triggered that I say that, right? But again, how many left-wingers do you know who think the pandemic is over? In the same way, how many people have lung cancer but are asymptomatic? They might think that they're left-wingers, but when they actively profess their support for eugenics and genocide and the reduction of quality of life for everyone in the world, they're not left-wingers, right? They're just LARPing in the same way that, again, the Nazis called themselves National Socialists as a way to co-opt left-wing ideals, right? And people are stupid enough to believe that, right? So if you think the pandemic is over, you are effectively an agent of the Nazi Party. Effectively. I don't give a shit about what your professed politics are. I don't give a shit about what you pretend to believe in your head. If you go out there and spread COVID to people, you are a Nazi. It's that simple. You are reducing your own quality of life. If you have kids, God forbid, you're reducing their quality of life. You're reducing everyone around you's quality of life for what? Applebee's? So that you can go see Taylor Swift? So you can go see a movie 6 weeks before it comes out on streaming? What are you doing this for? Think about this. Is going to a bar worth going demented in your 50s? Is that worth it? I say no. If you're a dumbass who thinks, yeah, I don't mind going demented in my 50s, so I want to go to Wendy's. I want to go to fucking Red Lobster. I want to go to Mickey D's and dine in for the experience. How about, I don't know, do something else? How about drink vodka on your couch instead of killing other people? But again, we live in a world obsessed with capitalism. Consumerism. People need to consume. Their identities are based on where they spend their money and who they fund. That's people's identity. It's a core part of their ego, is what companies and corporations you give your money to, like a private tax collection, right? Some people are like, I like to go to restaurants, and I don't care if I eat garbage food that poisons me. I don't care if I get COVID over and over again and I kill myself with it, or I go demented in my 40s or 50s. I don't care if I bring COVID home and infect my elderly grandma and kill her. I don't care if my kids get infected with COVID and develop blood clots and have arrhythmia when they're fucking going to gym class, right? I don't care about any of that. It is a part of my core identity and being to give my money to corporations that want to kill me. That is... And it's a major aspect on the left. That's why I don't really consider myself a left-winger anymore. I don't want to be associated with such craven stupidity. Now, again, I think I have left-wing politics. I just think that most people who identify with left-wing politics don't actually have left-wing politics. They have right-wing politics. Oh, great. You got a fucking I support Palestine sticker to put on your laptop while you're going to Starbucks without a mask on and spreading COVID to yourself, your kids, everyone around you. Wow. I mean, I'm so happy that you support Palestine at the same time that you're killing everyone around you because you're a fucking idiot, right? And so fundamentally, I think what I have learned from stuff like this is that people are just fucking stupid. They're just fucking dumb. And I want to show something. I saw this on Twitter the other day. And this is a survey from a couple of years ago. But it's something like, this is just like, I'm just having fun here. Talking about stupid ass Americans. Like, I need people to really understand that what people say, for the most part, now again, I am autistic, right? So I have the fatal terminal illness of saying what I think. You know, like, I don't have time to play games and come up with this like 5-dimensional chess to like virtue signal. I just say what I think. I know most people don't do that, right? But again, most people are also fucking stupid and they don't even know what they think. They don't even, like, again, the I support Palestine laptop sticker, Starbucks, you know, or coffee shop or anywhere that people are going in public and getting COVID and spreading COVID while they profess like, oh yeah, Bernie 2020. And then a year later, they're going to fucking restaurants in the middle of a pandemic, right? So again, what people say and what they do often are asynchronous. They do not line up. They do not match up, right? People will say one thing and do the complete opposite all the time. I learned this when I was a kid, right? But again, I just want to talk about this. I saw this trending on Twitter a little bit, and I thought it was just, it's a hilarious example of how stupid Americans are. And this is from a study of from the University of Chicago. And they did a survey here. I just want to show some results specifically that I find very interesting. National spending on assistance to the poor. Question response, too little. Right, so what people are saying in this poll, percentage-wise, there is too little spending on the poor. Right? So what's the percentage here? Well, it's about 70%. If you look at here, 72% of people in the year 2022, it's a little old now, but again, responded to a question, you know, what do you think about the spending on assistance to the poor? Too much, too little, etc. They said too little. 72% were like, yeah, not enough money is being spent on poor people. Okay. You'd think, oh, so great, wrap it up. The country is a left wing. Remember this like fucking lie that like left-wing YouTube commentators and politicians were saying, where like most of the country is left-wing, they just don't realize it. That's a lie. They're just like, because most of the country doesn't have any actual belief system. Why is that? Now, if we look at here, we can see a load of different questions. And I'm trying to find, hold on. I don't know where it is when my browser is this small. Okay. So here is the response, national spending on welfare. Now you may be seeing, you can't even see the bar. Where is it? It's way down here at 29%. So this survey asked the same question and changed one word in the same question. And we have a delta from 72 to 29. About a 40-point swing. You ask them the same question, but pop in a different word, and 40 points of a swing. Now, how is that possible? The answer may concern you, because Americans are fucking stupid. Humans at large are fucking stupid. Okay? And I need, like, this is something that I know it's unpopular to say this, right? Because people might feel like they're under attack. But I need you out there. If there's anyone listening to this that has in any capacity the ability to understand what I'm saying, everyone around you, for the most part, is a fucking idiot. Okay? They're fucking stupid. Now, we can talk about why. Is it the school system that created stupid people? Is it like something to do with the human brain and psyche and psychology? that has to do with people being stupid. Is that the society that we live in, the consumer culture, the capitalistic culture that forces people to be fucking stupid. We can have that conversation. But when it comes to surviving in this world, I really need people to understand, people are fucking dumb. They're fucking dumb. Now also, this is the baseline. Before the pandemic made everyone stupider. Right, you look at these numbers. Let's just look at 2018 here. 22% said there's too little spending on welfare. And then let's look what they said, there's too little spending on assistance to the poor in 2018. So in 2018 here, 72%. So it's a pretty similar delta. So that's the baseline. I need people to understand that's the baseline. Now we have a pandemic going on where everyone is getting dumber. And again, our baseline was not good as a society, as a species. The level of intellect and consistency was horrible. And now people are getting fucking dumber. That's scary. If that's not scary to you, then maybe you're part of that group of people that are just fucking stupid. But this is scary to me. This is horror fuel. Someone should make a movie about this. And I'm not offering solutions because I don't think there are solutions. Now, if someone wants to say that they think this solution, blah, blah, I'm open to hearing about it. But what's the solution? 60% of people believe that their internal monologue is Jesus Christ. How do you recover from that? You don't. You just live your life and try your best to avoid the dummies, and hopefully you can live a fulfilling life. I don't really know. But when it comes to politics as an institution, as a space, as a movement, whatever, there is no left wing. Left-wingers, people who identify as left and who take the mantle of left wing in the public sphere, are all just Nazis. They're just all different flavors of Nazis, right? If you support the spread of COVID by not wearing a mask and giving it to your friends, going to parties, going to restaurants, going to schools and all this, and giving your kids COVID, you are a Nazi. Again, actions speak louder than words, right? If someone in the 1930s, right, is marching along with Adolf Hitler and doing their whole thing, right? But secretly, they get home from work and they've got a secret underground basement or whatever that's off the grid, and they're hiding 68,000 Jewish people down there so that they don't get killed in the Holocaust. But publicly they're a Nazi, right? They publicly march in lockstep with Nazis, but privately they're not. I would prefer that than people saying, man, I'm a leftist, I'm a communist, bro. But also at the same time, they're killing themselves, killing their families, killing everyone around them, doing superfluous consumeristic activities, right? Going to a bar is not worth 10 years off your lifespan, 20 years off your lifespan. Not even that. It's not worth being disabled in your 30s, in your 40s. To go to a bar? To go see the fucking Barbie movie a month and a half before it comes out on the internet and you can watch it at home? Right? People are killing themselves for the dumbest fucking reasons imaginable. You are going to kill your fucking self, your immune system, your cognition, your reaction time to go to a gaming convention? Really? Really? You are going to risk your cognition so that you can go to a fucking flea market? You are going to risk your body's ability to fight off viruses, right? Your immune system health. You're going to risk this to go to Red Lobster? Again, because people's identities are entrenched in consumerism. People do not know how to live their lives in any capacity without being a consumer. That's ultimately what's going on here. Now, am I saying you should never buy anything ever? No, I'm not saying that. But if you prioritize a list, right? Because action expresses priority. If you prioritize going to Chili's over your families, your parents, your kids, your brothers, your sister, whatever, health and safety, living a long, healthy life, going to Chili's. The average American would rather go to Chili's and give money to corporations that are trying to kill them than to maintain health and safety for their family, for their friends, God forbid their kids if they have any. And this is why I consider society to be already done. The writing's on the wall. It's already over. We're watching the collapse. There's no way out. There's no light at the end of the tunnel. It's over. It's done. This is why I think this. Now, if you want to come to me in my comment section, whatever, and say I disagree that society's over because X, Y, and Z, I'm open to listening to it. I would love to see, like again, for example, for years and years and years before 2020, there was an organized so-called movement in the United States of America to get Medicare for all, free universal health care. And then a pandemic happened. And, at first I was like, oh, shit. Think about it. Never let a crisis go to waste. This pandemic is going to teach people why we need universal health care and why it's so important that we maintain public health infrastructure, right? Going through a pandemic is going to radicalize people to support health care for the poor, public health awareness, right? That's what I would have thought in 2020. That's what I did think in 2020. And what happened? The exact opposite happened. The left abandoned Medicare for all. No one talks about it anymore. The left abandoned the germ theory of disease. No one cares about it anymore. The left abandoned disabled people, embraced eugenics. Because people were forced to choose. Chili's? The things I say on the internet when I talk about politics. People were forced to choose gaming conventions or the things I say online when talking about politics. People were forced to choose my kids' safety, going to the movies, right? And they made the consumer capitalist choice 100% of the time. So this goes back to the fucking study I was talking about here, this one. A lot of Americans will say they support something, but they don't actually give a fuck, right? So I, and maybe you, were scammed by thinking that there was an organized left-wing movement in this country that wanted things like universal health care. They never did. They wanted to say that stuff to signal their virtues to other people so that other people would say, wow, that guy is so smart. That guy has real great principles. Then the pandemic happens and people are forced, push came to shove, right? People were forced to make their decisions. What side are you going to land on? Eugenics and Nazism or solidarity and supporting one another, especially disabled communities? And most of the so-called organized left in this country chose Nazism and eugenics over solidarity and support. And that's just what happened. That's just what fucking happened here, right? And that's why I think that there's no hope. What is there, like 5 to 10% of the country, maybe, of the world that knows what the fuck's going on and is actively engaging in reality with that knowledge? Right, so what's required? 1, to know what's happening, right? How many people even know what's happening? Right, and then 2, have the ability and or desire to act upon it, right? Like, oh, there's a pandemic going on, so maybe I shouldn't go get COVID and bring it home and infect my kids over and over. Or maybe I should consider homeschooling my child so that they don't get infected with COVID over and over and die in their 30s of a heart disease, right? Or again, kids are dropping dead in gym class. This is a trend. If you look this up online, you will find in a lot of local news, of course, because there's no one, compiling this nationally. Oh, little Timmy died in kickball. Oh, Jenny died at fucking doing jumping jacks in fucking homeroom. Oh, fucking Billy fucking, swung the bat too hard and had a heart attack. This is happening all across the country. How do you explain this? Because kids are being murdered systematically. You could even call schools a version of a concentration camp. The government, what happens if you don't send your kid to the concentration camp? The government will send cops, gangsters with guns, to your house to force you. They will point guns at you if they have to force you to send your child to the concentration camp. What are the alternatives? You quit your job and homeschool your kid? Well, then how do you make money, right? Maybe the alternative is you have to study a thing yourself and find a way to get a job that you can do from home so that you can keep your family safe. Well, then you have to contend with the fact that most of society is going to look at you weird and your kid's going to grow up to be antisocial. But would you rather your kid be social and dead in their 20s or antisocial and live a long, healthy life? Right, so I would consider schools to be a version of a concentration camp. Kids are going there, getting infected with deadly viruses and dying very early, dying in school, dying very young after school, and parents are forced at gunpoint to send their kids to the camps. So, now you may say that I'm going overboard with this analogy, but am I? Think about it. Am I? In order for me to be going overboard, right, you would have to believe that kids are magically immune from disease. Do you believe that? Do you believe kids are magically immune from disease? Where did you get that from? Donald Trump? Because that's what Donald Trump was saying, that kids are immune to all viruses. So you believe Donald Trump when it comes to your children's health and safety. Because if that's the case, that's called child abuse. But again, we live in a world where child abuse is normalized. You get made fun of. You become ostracized from communities if you do not abuse your child. Child abuse is mainstream. Kids are abused in this country from birth. And if you try your hardest to prevent that from happening, you're going to have a really hard time in life. It's almost borderline impossible to raise a child without them being susceptible to abuse in some way, even if you're a great parent. And let's say there is no pandemic going on and you send your kid to school, school is going to abuse them, whether it be bullies, whether it be teachers teaching them disinformation or destroying their sense of self, whether it be all kinds of things going on, right? In schools, in social environments, kids in this country, in this world, are abused from birth, and it's mainstream. So, what do you do about that? I don't know. It's sad. It's scary. That's why I don't want to have kids. Maybe it's possible if the pandemic goes away by magic, which it probably won't, or if governments decide to do something about it, which they probably won't, and there is no pandemic anymore, maybe I would consider having a child. But can you imagine having a kid during a pandemic? Especially when COVID can cause birth defects. I don't know if I don't remember if I showed this one on the show a couple months ago, but a couple months ago I read a study that found out that COVID has about if you get COVID while you're pregnant, there's a 5 to 10% chance that your fetus is going to grow in a deformed function, whether that be heart issues, their heart's not going to grow properly, brain issues, their brain doesn't develop properly, that kind of stuff. 5 to 10% chance. And yet pregnant people are still going to parties. They're having baby showers where people come over to them and give them gifts in the form of a deadly disease that's going to fuck their kids up. So I don't necessarily believe having children in the abstract is morally reprehensible. But I do believe having children in this current society is morally reprehensible. I do. Now, again, if you had kids 10 years ago, that's a different story, right? Maybe you didn't know that there would be a pandemic and the whole world would just decide, let's do nothing about it and kill ourselves so that we can go to Chili's. Maybe you didn't know that. That's fair. But anyone who's had kids in the last few years, it's selfish. It's narcissism. You want to have kids to fulfill some fetish that you have. You have some like kink, some fetish that you want to bring another human being involved in. Like, oh, I want to fuck people and get them pregnant and then raise a child to be in my image or whatever the fuck. Maybe even name your kid after someone in your family like a real fucking lunatic. There's no excuse for that. I'm sorry. If you're having kids during a pandemic, you're just fucking stupid. You're a morally reprehensible scumbag. And I'm sorry if that offends you. I'm not sorry. I mean, if that offends you, just unsubscribe. I don't give a shit. I know what I say on this show is not popular. I'm aware of that. I'm aware that the things I say are not popular. I'm aware that the things I say make me a social outcast. I am aware that because I believe in reality, that most people don't believe in reality, so they're not going to want to engage with me in any capacity. I'm okay with that. I made that decision. Last year, 2022 was where I started to think about this. But last year in 2023, when the world just decided the pandemic never even happened, there was no pandemic. There's no pandemic in Ba Sing Se, right? That's what the world decided. And I decided, you know what? I am not part of this society. I'm an outsider looking in, and I'm going to tell you what I see. As someone with binoculars who is far away from a lot of societal stuff. I don't have friends. I don't go outside. I don't even have friends on the internet, really. Right? I am an outsider looking in. I am up on the perch on the cliffside with a pair of binoculars, and I'm watching the show. And from that perspective, I can tell you, it's not fun. And the show, while entertaining, you see that story of the guy who cut his dad's head off or whatever and made a YouTube video. The show can be entertaining at times. But when you really sit back and think that this is what people are choosing to do with their lives, you get one life on Earth. Well, I mean, most people believe in an afterlife, so maybe that's why they do such stupid fucking garbage. But we all get one life on this planet, in these bodies that we have, that we inherit from our forefathers and mothers, and everyone else that came before us. We have one body, and people treat it like garbage. We have one lifetime, and people would rather spend that lifetime swimming in sludge than forging their own path in life. So, I don't know. I don't like it. I wish we lived in another world where people did the things that they say they believe. I wish I could take people at face value. I wish people were honest. I wish people actually cared about one another. I wish people had solidarity. I wish people had empathy. But we don't live in that world. We just don't. So, I would rather be a social outcast than to be part of the herd, killing one another over scraps. I just don't believe in that kind of stuff. So, but maybe it's because I'm autistic. I say something because that's what I believe. I know, most people don't. Again, look at that fucking graph I showed you. Most people say something that they don't believe. Or even worse, most people say things and they don't even understand what they're saying. Right? It's pretty fucking sad. It's a sad state of affairs. It really is. It's a sad state of affairs. I want to read this article about COVID from Time, because it's kind of hard to deny at this point. People are doing it anyway, but it's hard to deny that we're still in a pandemic. But again, people are so propagandized. They're so addicted to consuming. I must consume, I must consume, I must consume. I must go to the gaming conventions during the height of the pandemic. I must go to fucking Red Lobster during the height of the pandemic. I must send my kid to school during the height of the pandemic. I have to consume, I have to consume. I must go to the movie theaters. I must go to the Black Friday deals. I have to do everything. I am a consumer. It is a core part of my identity. but everyone's sick at the same time, right? But again, people are fucking stupid. We really need to understand this. People are fucking stupid. They're fucking stupid. I know it's unpopular, but people, I need you to understand. At least 80% of people, 8 in 10 motherfuckers, are dumber than dog shit. At least, bare minimum. Right? So what do they think? Oh, everyone around me is sick at the same time the pandemic is over? Right? How do you square those things? Well, let's find out by reading this Time article. We're in a major COVID-19 surge. It's our new normal. You probably know a lot of sick people right now. Most parts of the United States are getting pummeled by respiratory illness, with 7% of all outpatient healthcare visits recorded during the week ending in December 30 related to these sicknesses, according to the U.S. CDC. Many people are sick with the flu, while others have RSV or other routine winter viruses, but COVID-19 is also tearing through the population. Now again, COVID-19, also known as airborne AIDS, it destroys your immune system. So if you get COVID any amount of times, you are also going to be more likely to get the flu or RSV or some other illness because your immune system is at a lower baseline. So let's say you got the flu and it's 2010. You never had COVID before. Your body might be able to fight it off and you might recover fully. Let's say you get the flu and it's 2024 and you had COVID 6 times. That flu might just kill you. But COVID-19 is also tearing through the population thanks largely to the highly contagious JN1 variant. It has nothing to do with the government declaring the pandemic over and people magically believing viruses and germs stopped existing. No, it's because of the new variant. Yeah, it has nothing to do with human behavior. Right? No, of course not. It's the new variant. Just like every year since 2021, this one is starting with a COVID-19 surge, and Americans are getting a good glimpse of what their new normal may look like, says Caitlin Jetelina, the epidemiologist who writes the Your Local Epidemiologist newsletter. Quote, unfortunately, she says, signs are pointing to this being the level of disruption and disease we're going to be faced with years to come. Thousands of people dying every week so that you can go see the Barbie movie. Thousands of people dying every week so that you can go to a shitty restaurant. Thousands of people dying every week so you can send your kid to a concentration camp to get American indoctrination station, right? Like, for what? We're doing this for corporations. We're killing our family members for corporations. Think about that. Just think about that. The CDC no longer tracks COVID-19 case counts. Isn't that interesting? I'm surprised Time Magazine even says this, which makes it harder than it once was to say exactly how widely the virus is spreading. Monitoring the amount of virus detected in wastewater, while not a perfect proxy for case counts, is probably the best real-time signal currently available. Now, again, shouldn't you maybe think, okay, so the CDC is covering up the data. Huh. I wonder why, right? Like, wouldn't people be naturally curious about that? Oh, the government is hiding all of the information on this. I wonder why they're doing that. Obviously, it's because there is no information, right? That's why they're hiding it. Right? That's what most people believe. Most people, if you ask them, why is the CDC hiding COVID data? They'll say, because there ain't no COVID, he's gone. Why? Because they're fucking stupid. They're fucking dumb. And the average American, people you know probably, are fucking stupid, okay? Right now, that signal is screaming a red siren. Talking about wastewater? According to some analyses, wastewater data suggests the current surge is second in size only to the monstrous first wave of Omicron, which peaked in early 2022. By some estimates, more than 1 million people in the United States may be newly infected every single day at the peak of this wave. Now, the CDC says that 10 to 20% of COVID infections lead to long COVID. Studies that actually look into the science say that the number is probably closer to 30 or 40%. So 1 million new infections every day. Let's just go with the CDC's data, even though it's an undershot. 10% of 1 million is 100,000. New long COVID patients every day. but they're not long COVID patients because long COVID isn't real, according to the medical system. There have been many people that have long COVID that go to the doctor and the doctor gives them like benzodiazepine or whatever and says that, oh, you have anxiety. It's not real. COVID isn't real. Doctors are saying this. That's the state of public health. So you're not a long COVID patient because there's no such thing. You're just left to the wolves. Just like how you left disabled people to the wolves when they got long COVID. Now you're going to get long COVID and you're going to look around and say, whoa, how come no one's helping me out? It's because you didn't help anyone else out by preventing infection. You decided going to Disneyland was more important than your family's health and safety. That was your decision. But people don't like the consequences of their actions. Wastewater isn't the only sign that things are bad. Almost 35,000 people in the U.S. were hospitalized with COVID-19 during the week ending in December 30. Now, this is a misnomer because, again, it says that the CDC stopped tracking data for COVID. So how do we know 35,000 people in the U.S. were hospitalized with COVID? It's because individual hospitals are reporting that. But a lot of individual hospitals do not report COVID information. So all of this is an undercount. A lot of red states, like Florida, actively prohibit a lot of hospitals from reporting any COVID information. Far fewer than were admitted at the height of the first Omicron wave, but a 20% increase over the prior week in 2023. Now again, because people are dumb, I need to explain this. The idea that you're either perfectly functional and alive or dead, and those are the only two states of life, is ludicrous. So hospitalizations being down does not necessitate that the virus is mild. What it does is it says that the virus has less front-facing symptoms. Again, look at the cancer comparison. You can have cancer for years and not even know. Maybe you have like a tumor on your stomach and you get a little stomach ache every once in a while, but you just think, it's probably because of the food I ate. Or, everyone gets tummy aches. It's no big deal. And then one day you vomit blood or shit blood or some shit. You go to the hospital. Sorry, you got stage 3 cancer. What are you going to do? Wait, you're telling me my body didn't just detect the cancer and magically fight it or magically know about its existence so I go to the doctor? Right? And again, evolutionarily speaking, when it comes to viruses are better off for the spread if their host doesn't even know that they have the virus. Think about spy movies. You ever watch fucking spy movies? Right? You put the fucking bug, the wiretap, whatever it is, in someone's fucking, wallet or whatever. You're going to get a lot more information as long as they don't know that the bug is in their wallet. If they're walking around and they don't know that they're tapped, they're going to get a lot more information. If they find the bug in their wallet and then throw it away, guess what? Your information stops. In the same way, that's how viruses work. They benefit from when their hosts are symptomatically suppressed and actively infectious. So that's what the virus evolved to do. So, okay, there's less people hospitalized. Is that automatically good? No, because everyone's quality of life is decreasing. But let's keep going. Deaths tend to lag a few weeks behind hospitalizations, but already about 1,000 people in the U.S. are dying each week from COVID-19. That number is approximately 2,000 now. This article is a couple weeks old now. Yet, even as trends veer in the wrong direction, people are still working in offices, going to school, eating in restaurants, and sitting shoulder to shoulder in movie theaters largely unmasked. The only answer for that is that they're fucking stupid. It can be hard to know how to feel about that reality. It's not hard to know. These people are fucking stupid. They're fucking stupid. They're monsters. They're serial killers. Viewed through a 2020 lens, many people would consider it catastrophically concerning that people are living normally even as COVID-19 sickens the equivalent of an entire city's population every single day. But it isn't as worrisome in 2024 when the pandemic is over on paper, if not in practice. Now again, this is why this article is insane, right? Because the first section of it is acknowledging reality. Yes, everyone around you is sick. Everyone's dying. Everyone's dumber. Everyone's getting less healthy over time. And that's good because, not according to Dr. Ashish Jha, the genocide architect of the United States White House COVID task force, almost all of the U.S. population has some immunity from previous infections or vaccinations. Treatment like the antiviral Paxlovid are available for people at risk of severe disease. These are all lies. When you get HIV, does that make you more immune to HIV? Okay, so you got HIV, and now you're going to get more immune to catching HIV again, right? Or does the virus destroy your immune system? Right. So all the science says that COVID-19 destroys your immune system, but the genocide architect of the White House says otherwise. Isn't that interesting? So the CDC hides the data, the White House genocide architect hides the data and lies to you, and that's not cause for alarm? So again, what are people seeing? Everyone I know is sick. And what do articles like this want you to do? Acknowledge that everyone is sick, but also that it's fine. Somehow, everyone getting sick over and over again is perfectly normal, right? It's perfectly normal that you can't remember what you ate for dinner last night because of cognitive decline. That's normal. It's perfectly normal for little Sally to drop dead and kick ball because she fucking kicked too hard and pulled a muscle of some kind and it caused her heart to fucking palpitate and then she just passed out and died. That's perfectly normal, according to the White House, according to the government. So again, this is just fucking stupid, right? They're telling you that the obvious problem is obvious, and then they're also going to tell you, but who really cares? Now again, tell me why this is a society worth living in. Explain. Explain to me, in simple terms, why I should feel compelled to join this cult. Oh, but don't you want to go to gaming conventions and play video games with gamers and get COVID and die early? Hell no. Oh, but don't you want to go to the movie theater to see this hot new film and die early? Hell no. Oh, but don't you want to go to a restaurant and have people slave over you and serve you like it's fucking goddamn medieval or some shit? No, I'm actually not interested in that. I like cooking for myself. I like eating at home. I like watching movies from my bed while I pet my dog, okay? Call me crazy, but I prefer living, I prefer being healthy over giving money to corporations. Now again, I'm not saying you can't ever buy stuff. I buy stuff. Sometimes. Once in a while I buy stuff. Right? But like, I'm not going to go out of my way to give hundreds and hundreds of my hard-earned dollars to a corporation just to purchase a product that's going to kill me. Right? I would rather drink a handle of vodka in a week than go to a fucking restaurant a week. Now, am I recommending that? No. Also, I don't really drink anymore. But I'm just saying, this idea that it's normalized to kill one another for stupid-ass garbage, I'm sorry, I refuse. I don't participate in that. So if that makes me an outcast, if that makes me a social recluse, a hermit, whatever, I guess that's the world I'm living in. But I would rather live in reality than put the fucking blinders on and give all of my money and life, my only life, surrendering it to corporations. I personally refuse. I have one life. I'm not going to get a second chance at life. That's not real. So, I'm going to spend my one life dying early so that capitalistic corporations can make some extra money that quarter? Hey, you do you. If that's something you're interested in, feel free. Go to the movie theater, but what are you going to do? I don't really know. If you don't wear a respirator, honestly, again, oh, but masks are too expensive, man. Get a P100 respirator. Is it too expensive? You know what else is too expensive? Clothes. You bought them anyway. You know what else is too expensive? Netflix. You bought it anyway. You know what else is too expensive? Junk food. You bought it anyway. Getting a P100 respirator or higher and making sure you actively change the filters, especially if you work in person somewhere. Oh, but your job doesn't let you wear a P100. Get a different job? Oh, you can't get a different job, so you'd rather die for this corporation? You'd rather die for this company? So you're choosing death over looking for another job? Looking for another job is so difficult that you're willing to just die instead? You're willing to just give up and lay down on the train tracks? I don't know, man. It just seems weird to me that people are okay with that. It just seems strange. Seems fucking strange. It's bizarre, right? Like, isn't that weird? But again, the pandemic normalized mass death. The pandemic normalized genocide. Genocide is cool now. As far as most people, if you ask them, do you support killing other people for the sake of capitalistic corporations? They'll say no, and then they'll go to the movie theater without a mask on. Why? Because, again, Americans are fucking stupid. So let's check out this article here in the New York Times. Now, this is some crazy shit, okay? Israel's controlled demolitions are razing neighborhoods in Gaza. Now, I just want you to read that. Now, again, this is the New York Times, which is a pro-genocide bias. They're in favor of the genocide in Palestine. But how do you square what's going on in the genocide and also being in favor of it? Well, you write articles like this. A resort hotel overlooking the Mediterranean, a multi-story courthouse built in 2018. Dozens of homes obliterated in seconds with the pull of a trigger. The damage caused by Israel's aerial offensive in Gaza has been well documented. And here's why it's good, according to the New York Times. But Israeli ground forces have also carried out a wave of controlled explosions that have drastically changed the landscape in recent months. At least 33 controlled demolitions have destroyed hundreds of buildings, including mosques, schools, and entire sections of residential neighborhoods. Now again, how do you read this and not think that what they're doing is insane? What Israel is doing is worse than the government of Germany in the 1930s. Definitionally, factually. If that upsets you, read a book. So how do you write all this stuff in a way that's praising Israel? Well, let's keep going. Since November, a New York Times analysis of Israeli military footage, social media videos, and satellite imagery shows. In response to questions about demolitions, a spokesperson for the Israeli military said the soldiers are locating and destroying terror infrastructures embedded, among other things, inside buildings, inside civilian areas, adding that sometimes entire neighborhoods act as combat complexes for Hamas fighters. And then, war porn. So they're destroying schools, hospitals, mosques, apartment complexes. But it's okay, because Hamas. And then let's look at some cool war photos. Look at these IDF soldiers smoking cigarettes and watching the schools burn down. Wow! Look, they got a mosque. Yeah! Look, they got Gaza City apartment buildings. They got a school right here. Goddamn, you get them good, Hamas. Or you get them good, IDF. Hamas will never see that coming. Oh, 16 kids died? Well, whatever. They were probably Hamas anyway. Now, imagine if you scroll underneath this. If you actually get through the war porn, which most people won't. Israeli officials who spoke anonymously because they were not authorized to speak publicly about the issue said that Israel wanted to demolish Palestinian buildings close to the border as part of an effort to create a security buffer zone inside Gaza. Oh, they're making a buffer zone. So that's why all the war porn is acceptable. Murdering kids is fine because, oh, they need a buffer zone, right? Now, again, if people can be convinced that the germ theory of disease no longer exists and that genocide is fine as long as you can go to Wendy's, then they're going to be more likely to be convinced, oh, look at it. Like, look at this. Look at this. They're posing. Residential buildings are being bombed to the ground, and these guys are excited and posing, and the New York Times is promoting this? Isn't this fucking crazy? Like, don't you find what's going on in the world right now fucking insane? I don't know. I think it's a little fucking weird what's going on this planet that we call Earth right now. The way that people are proudly supporting genocide, whether it be left-wing identifying people or right-wing identifying people. Left-wingers love the COVID genocide. Right-wingers love the Israeli genocide of Palestinians. Everyone loves genocide. Pick your genocide. If you're a left-winger, you want to go see Barbie because it's feminism. Woo! Yeah, I'm a feminist. You want to go see Taylor Swift because you're a feminist and then also kill people with COVID. That's fine because you're a left-winger. You're a right-winger. You want to go to Israel and tour the fucking ruins of Gaza and see what the fucking IDF troopers, see how many, like, dead kids they can pull out of the rubble today and then take pictures of while they're doing, like, ooh, in front of them, right? Like, everyone loves genocide. It's pick which genocide are you in favor of. And again, I just want to say this. I am on the very, very, very minoritarian position of I'm against all genocide, actually. I think killing innocent people for no reason is bad. Let alone killing innocent people on behalf of corporations. I think that's bad. But hey, no one else thinks that. Everyone else is picking their poison. What genocide do you support? The COVID genocide or the Israeli genocide of Palestinians? Which one? Which one's your preferred genocide? You got to pick one. According to American discourse, you have to pick one. I say no to that question. I say, how about your question is fucked? How about no? I pick neither. No genocide is acceptable. Killing innocent people is not acceptable. The germ theory of disease, controversial as it may be, is real and settled science. So I don't really know what else to say. And that's the news portion of the show. Now again, I had I used to on the show, I used to do a lot more reacting to stupid people kind of stuff, right? And I kind of stopped doing that for a while because honestly, it's too much. But a lot of people have been saying, you really should just end on a fun note, funniness. We love fun here. I love fun. I'm a fun person. And a couple people sent me a clip of the Young Turks. And, I wouldn't necessarily want to do this, but I thought it was so fucking stupid that, whatever. What are you going to do? Let's have fun here. So, the Young Turks, as you know, or maybe you don't know, is a pro-genocide network. They're in favor of the COVID genocide. They're in favor... they're named after a... but aside from that. They recently had, this fucking neo-Nazi on the show. I think his name is Ben Glebe. I think that's the guy. And he's a neo-Nazi. He's a Hitler supporter. And they had him on the show to discuss why the Nazis are right, actually. And that clip went viral. And so more people are, paying attention again to how stupid TYT is. I'm not going to be talking about that clip because, honestly, it's a little too much. But a couple of people, people still send me clips of, stupid right-wing shows, even though I stopped kind of doing that. But people still send me them and ask what my thoughts are. So I just figured I'd talk about this one. But the Young Turks is talking about this story that's going on with Cori Bush. Now, you may not know who Cori Bush is. Not related to George W. Bush, thank goodness. But she is a member of Congress who came out of the Ferguson protest movement from when I want to say is 2014. And she has had activist organizers that she knows die. And when I say die, I mean get murdered. For those of you that are uninitiated, there was a wave of suicides in the Ferguson area of activist organizers killing themselves in car fires, setting their cars on fire and sitting inside and dying. And a lot of them were ruled as suicides. Now, obviously, what we know is that cops killed them all, right? And so when you're someone like Cori Bush who came out of that environment and you also get a lot of death threats, right? What are you going to do? You're going to have a security force, right? Obviously, duh. Right? And in this case, Cori Bush hired her husband to be a security for her. Now, we can argue about whether or not you want to mix business with pleasure in that way. But at the same time, who's going to be more highly motivated to protect you than your spouse? Let's just be honest, right? And her spouse has a background in security. So, you ask me, it makes sense. Now, she's under investigation by right-wingers because they are accusing her of, like, laundering money to her family or whatever. Now, we'll see how that all pans out. But the Young Turks, instead of talking about how this is a right-wing scam, right, because the Young Turks is a right-wing pro-Nazi network, they're talking about it like this. So, now again, these are some really stupid fuckers. Like, I need people to understand here. Again, what was I saying earlier in the show? People identify as left-wing. They'll say, I'm a left-winger. And then they'll say the most pro-Hitler shit imaginable. They'll say the most insane fucking conspiratorial shit in the world. Right? Because people say one thing and then do another thing. And that's normalized in society. So I want to play this clip here. Because it's just like... It's honestly insane that we're still dealing with this, like, defund the police, like, fake game that people play. But let's just watch this.
In terms of the need for security, I get it. You know.
Also, apparently this guy is running for president. You wouldn't know that because he's not campaigning. He just announced, hey guys, I'm running for president. And he just didn't campaign anywhere other than doing a show. So, interesting.
Look, we get crazy threats, etc. all the time. She's a member of Congress. She wants to feel safer. Okay. She's one of the leaders of the defund the police movement.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a little bit of irony there?
Yes.
Yes.
Now notice how Anna Kasparian, with 3 Ks, is like jumping at this. Yes, it's so ironical, man. It's so ironical. Huh? So, okay. Explain to me the irony behind cops kill people for no reason and only exist to support property and rich people. And then also, I have a bodyguard who's my husband. Where's the irony? Like, you have to be a dumbass. Again, you have to be a fucking moron to watch a show like TYT. You have to have a low IQ. Anyone who watches this show is fucking stupid. I'm sorry. Maybe they were drinking too much in high school and they lost one too many brain cells. Maybe they got COVID 38,000 times and they're fucking experiencing severe cognitive decline. But if you watch a show like this, you're fucking dumb. You're just a dummy, okay? I'm sorry. It's just how it is. And if you think that there's anything ironic behind cops kill innocent people all the time and only protect the rich, and I have a bodyguard because people are sending me death threats. If there's any hypocrisy that you find there, it's because you don't understand the English language. But let's keep going.
So now look, guys, you could say full-blown irony, or you could say half irony, because yes, but she's worried that the police are abusing the citizens, and in her case, clearly she's hiring security to protect her. And if the cops acted like that, maybe she might be in favor of them.
So Cenk explains why it's not ironic while saying it's ironic. Like, you ever think, so he's explaining exactly what I said, why it's not ironic in any capacity, but his explanation is supporting why it's ironic? Like, he thinks what he's explaining is how it's half irony? What?
Yeah.
But is there a sense of irony here? No protection for you, but protection for me?
What? No protection for you? Huh?
A little bit.
No, but
I'll come back to the others, but go ahead.
But I think it's really important to be fair to her, because while she is an advocate for defunding the police, she never said that she was against hiring private security. So Anna Kasparian is saying, let's be fair to her, let's make some bullshit up? in a situation in which you can't rely on police, just hire private security. It only costs hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right, but you could just give it to your husband.
That's true.
Now again, instead of talking about how this is a right-wing scam and a nothing burger, they're attacking Cori Bush, calling her a hypocrite, and saying this is the big tell here.
Because
hold up. For me, no protection for you, but protection for me.
What does that mean? No protection for you, but protection for me. What this is implying is that Cenk believes that cops protect poor people and minorities. He believes that. Why? Because he's a fucking rich, out-of-touch, elitist, fucking right-wing, genocide-supporting freak. And again, I haven't looked at any TYT shit in a while, but again, anyone who wants to explain why this is a left-wing show, look at this, progressive ideas, champion progressive ideas as a member. This is a right-wing show. This is neo-Nazi central. They have neo-Nazis on the show to talk about why killing Palestinians is good. They have neo-Nazis on the show to talk about why police deserve to have higher budgets so that they kill more innocent minorities, right? Like, what the fuck are people watching here? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't know. But I just thought I would cover that a little bit, you know, and end the show with a little popcorn for you. People love when I react to stupid people on the internet. I don't know why. Well, I do know why, because it's just a little silly. But again, like, I really need people to understand that most people that you watch on the internet are lying to you at every single moment. Most of them. Now, they may also, and because this is how insidious it is, may also be lying to themselves, right? A lot of people chase the algorithm. They chase right-wing talking points. They chase like this desire to be a part of mainstream discourse, and mainstream discourse is operated and controlled by right-wingers. And the only way to actually appear in mainstream discourse is to be a right-winger or to parrot right-wing talking points in some way. And that's what a lot of these people want to do. So that's why you have a place that says we're the home of progressives, and they have neo-Nazis on their show, and they attack left-wingers constantly and lie about them. Because it's just a lie. Like Cenk said previously, he understands exactly what defund the police is about. Police need to be defunded and or rehabilitated, right? It's an either-or situation. Like, if we gave the money to police and actually made sure that that money was spent on actual policing, or rather actual community defense, you know, and protection of minorities and poor people, I would have no problem with the same amount of money we spend on police now going to the hypothetical force, right? Or we keep the police as we have now and then take the money from them and give it to actual communities directly. Now, again, I'm okay with either one of those. What needs to stop is the current police forcing as the policing in this country as it is constituted. They need to stop existing in some way or another, right? So Cenk obviously understands this. He's just lying to his audience because he thinks that you're stupid enough. And again, if you watch TYT, you are stupid. You are a fucking idiot. If you watch any of these TYT shows, you're a fucking moron. You support this kind of shit. But again, this is the thing about Americans, is they say one thing and they do the opposite. And the only reason you would do that is if you're a liar or a fucking idiot or an imbecile or a fucking moron. You're a stupid fuckface. You've got a low IQ, okay? I'm sorry, motherfucker. It's just how it is. You're either a con artist, a scammer, a liar, or a YouTuber, or a fucking mark, a dummy, a shit for brains. Those are the only two options. And that's 90%, my estimate, 90% of this country. Now, again, the percentages worldwide, it's harder for me to say that. But in the United States, it's at least 90% of these motherfuckers are brain dead. Brain dead! And then there's about 5% of the population that knows that everyone else is brain dead, and they take advantage of it. And then there's 5% of the population that's like, I want nothing to do with this. Right? And so, anyway, there's your show for today. Hopefully I hit all the bases for you because I didn't do a show last week. So hopefully people enjoyed this one. And I'd like to say thanks for sticking with me. You know, I think it's cool that people still watch this show. And yeah, like I want to explain something when it comes to my fixations, right? I get really focused on certain things at certain periods of my life, right? And right now, when it comes to doing a politics show or a philosophy show, whatever this is, a news show, I don't know. I am not necessarily hyper-fixated on this show at this moment in time. So it's like a B project for me right now. Right now, my A project is game design and music. I'm learning all of this stuff. I've been doing that for like a year. And that's been my main hyperfixation, right? So whenever I get to a point where I'm like extremely satisfied with that, I may return to doing this show as like a daily or semi-daily show. It's just right now, the psychic damage I receive from doing that, like, is an impairment on the other things that I like doing with my life, right? But I also don't want to just stop doing it entirely. So that's why I've been doing these weekly shows. Because, you know, I want to still talk about things, but I also don't want it to consume my entire life. And when you're in this space, it's very easy for news and politics to consume your entire life. Oh, trending headline. Let's quick make a video about it to hop in on the algorithm. That's why I don't do clips anymore. I don't necessarily want to expand my audience based on the YouTube algorithm. That's why I don't do clips. That's why I title all my shows like just nothing, like above it all number, right? Because I'm doing it for people that are interested. And I don't necessarily want to expand the audience at any point in the near future. And I'm working on other stuff in my life, right? But again, I go through cycles. It's possible I'll become hyperfixated on politics again to the point where I want to do a show like, you know, like I used to do it every day or whatever. But right now, I'm just taking a little bit of a break. And I appreciate people for sticking with it. You know, that's fun. It's cool. It's interesting. And I hope I can still provide something of value here. But it's important to not shut down completely. Like, I could just shut down this show completely and never read the news again. And what good does that do? Right? Like, what good does that do to just zone out completely? You know? Then I would be like one of the lemmings, right? So it's important to stay informed, but also to understand that sometimes there's diminishing returns. Sometimes reading the news and the trending headlines every single day, all day, for years and years and years straight without a single break, that can fuck your shit up. And you see a lot of people in this YouTube culture that do just that. They read the news all day, every day, all day, every day, all day, every day. They maybe take a break once or twice a year for like a week or so. But what do they do when they're on a break? They read politics and news every day, all day, every day, right? And that fucks your brain up, right? That's not healthy, right? So now, and it's diminishing returns, because how much of this shit are you actually learning versus you're just reacting to some stupid shit? Republicans did something crazy. Let's react. You know, are you learning anything? Right? I would rather focus my interest in the world around me in learning about the world around me. And that's why I like to read medical studies on this show and stuff like that. So, but anyway, there's your show. Hopefully I hit all the bases for you. I'm going to get the fuck out of here. That's what I'm going to do. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it.